That's the spare. Got it.
Yeah, I'll use the default stompies or whatever for fun. Oh, I got a fucking stompy drop. Thank you,
Wow,
whoever
that's
is watching Drew's stream.
My god, this guy says he needs a drop, he gets a drop. That's phenomenal.
Stag,
Why can't
you cannot like talk me out of Stag. It's too good.
I see the argument, definitely.
Did you see that? I shot around the barricade and killed him. I'm sure you're curious how the curated explosive spare rations compares to other hand cannons like this max range Austringer, which at 32 meters will 3-tap. Now for a max range spare rations, it will not 3-tap at that same 32 meters. You might be expecting that the curated explosive spare rations is going to 3-tap here, and it's not even going to come close. In fact, it's even worse than a max range spare rations. And if you compare it to the Explosive Better Devils, they all pale in comparison. The Explosive Better Devils is the best in the kinetic slot. The actual 3-tap distance for the Explosive Spare Rations is 27 meters, which is, believe it or not, even worse than a Spare Rations with full bore, some sort of range booster, and a range masterwork without rangefinder. You're probably expecting me to tell you something like, well, its 4-tap distance is better than the max range spare. It's not. It's 5-tap distance, sure, but if you're taking 5 shots with the hand cannon, probably not a good idea. But if we're talking like the max range, like you're in the back of the map, then yeah, the explosive spare is the best spare for putting in the most damage at a distance. There's a reason for this video that I decided to put gameplay before the analysis, because as soon as some people hear this analysis, they're going to click off the video because they heard what they wanted to hear, which was the explosive spare is worse in range than the other variants of the spare rations. But here's the thing. I fell in love with this hand cannon because the utility of explosive rounds cannot be understated. I'm entering gunfights shooting the floor, and it's splash damaging anywhere from like 1 to 20 damage, depending on how close I am to the target, before I even enter line of sight. That to me is ridiculous because that can even take away a headshot requirement in some scenarios. And if somebody runs behind cover, I can still splash the floor. Keep in mind that this hand cannon has a perk called Overflow, so if I run over special ammo, which is almost always in PvP, then it ramps the magazine up to 28 and automatically reloads it. So if somebody wants to spam spare rations at me, well, I can do it even more. I can shoot 28 times in a row at the floor to secure a kill. Let what you just heard sink in for a second. 28 bullets that I do not have to reload, and all of them are explosive. If you can incorporate the benefits of explosive rounds into your normal gameplay, then this spare rations is better than any roll you can get. And the best part is, it's curated. No more grinding, no more banging your head against the wall doing Reckoning or Gambit Prime, crossing your fingers trying to get the perfect spare rations when it was under our nose the entire time. This is the curated roll, so the way to obtain it is to put on a full collector set and deposit a enormous blocker, giant blocker, exodia, I don't know what they call it. Just deposit 20 motes at a time with the full collector set, or the alternative, if you don't have the collector set, is to deposit 50 motes in one single game of Gambit Prime. Don't get me wrong, there are spare rations with superior rolls, especially when we talk about 3-tap distance, but if you take all the pros and all the cons that go with this curated roll, I truly do think it is the best one for me. It is my new favorite spare rations. The thing is, I almost didn't get it, because I was about to quit solo queuing Gambit until EK, Brogue, and Riot helped me out, so huge thank you to them. It took me 16 attempts of satisfying the collector requirements before it finally dropped. I gotta say, the more I used it, the more this weapon grew on me. Like, look at this clip in the background. I just keep shooting the floor at the power ammo, and no enemy can grab it. That to me is a huge tactical advantage for my team if I can do that more consistently, especially if I can do it while in cover. I already talked a little about it earlier, but I enter rooms shooting the floor. if I see where that explosive damage is hitting, it'll give me a better indication of where to aim next. And you can do a lot of little things like this. Like, imagine Trials of Osiris comes back, and you get the opening pick, and that enemy's dead ghost and orb is somewhere where you can just keep shooting the floor so that the other enemies cannot revive them. Obviously, explosive rounds is really good at a distance when you're trying to put a bit more damage into team fights, of course. But it also is a curse if you play Flawless Execution, aka Way of the Wraith, Spectral Blades. If you crouch and get a headshot kill, it might not register as a headshot because the explosive portion of the bullet might be picking up the kill. And yes, I tried something like Foe Tracer, the exotic helmet, to see if there's certain distances at which it will enable a 3-tap, or a 4-tap, or a 5-tap, and the answer is yes, but it's so rare that it's not worth looking into. Any other little nuanced thing with this gun, I'll have to figure out as I put more time with it, but for the easy 400 kills I've got with it up until now, I would say I have gotten really good with this thing. If you're curious about what is the best roll on a spare rations, that's different for each person and input device. I think there are certain rolls that favor controller and certain rolls that favor mouse and keyboard, but the bottom line is that this has 92 aim assist and 100 recoil direction. You will bend bullets into people's faces regardless of what the roll is, but some do it better than others. I'll talk about that more in a future video where I go over my opinion on the 140 and 150 RPM hand cannon visual recoil changes, specifically while using a controller and while on console. Speaking of visual recoil changes, did you know that explosive rounds really annoy your screen? I'll leave you on that note. Thank you so much for watching the video and subscribing to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.